This is a slice of 200,000 students riding out at night on bikes. In the province of Henan, college students in Zhengzhou City hopped on a train and rode bikes to the city nearby that's about 3 hours away. What was initially a fun, adventurous way to decompress after their long day doing college classes has now become something quite politically motivated, well, at least according to the local government and those institutions. This all started when 4 girls in the summer of this year decided that after class they wanted some late night snacks in the nearby Kaifeng city, which by biking was about 3 hours away. And so they recorded a video of them biking out on the road at night, reaching Kaifeng city, enjoying their soup dumplings, and then of course posting it online. So they set out for about 7 p.m. and did about 50 kilometers or about 20 miles or so, and then reached the destination. The idea wasn't really about frugality or anything to do with the school life, honestly, because you can just take a public transit and it'll get you there, but it was really about an adventure, something different, exploring their way of I guess you would say the college life, right? I would even categorize this as the freedom of the students to do whatever they think is necessary. But I think once they posted it on social media and this turning into a trend, well, the thing just kind of blew up, and it got to the point where at one night or I guess over this weekend, 200,000 or more people went onto the street, rode the bikes throughout the night, and yeah, many of them actually ended up in Kaifeng City. Now, you got to understand, right off the bat, 200,000 of anything. These people could be just standing there eating eggs or, I don't know, doing nothing, singing. Just the sheer number of people is already threatening to the Chinese Communist Party. Think immediately you're remembering the scenes of 1989 Tiananmen Square, and you see the students riding their bikes as they, protest for democracy and change in China. In the beginning, even if there was zero political intention involved behind this thing, and there wasn't really any, it's already turned into a political event, right? It's like the government realizes, or at least they think they realize, that this is now a preemptive gathering of something that could turn political. I think they've also learned a few lessons from the white paper protest and, those Halloween protests. And before we continue, if you're interested in supporting this channel, consider giving us a donation. The link is in the description. It will greatly help us expand our production, help us get some gears, or just even helping us to go report on certain real-life events, or help us with some of the more interesting and diverse contents that we can do on this channel. So if you want to make a contribution, check out our donor box link in the description. All right, let's go back into the video. So at some point, the colleges in Henan province all took a measure to lock down the schools, curfews enacted, and people aren't allowed to leave unless they have special temporary passes to leave the school grounds. So kids have to kind of, stay in their dorms. And the local government, in some cases, has also put out restrictions, roadblocks, travel restrictions, etc. But some students posted a video saying that they will walk to that nearby city on foot if that's what it takes after they can't bike anymore. So, of course, people were kind of frustrated. They're saying that, why are you not allowing us to even bike anymore? Like, is there not even that bit of a freedom left? And just to highlight how scared they are, some of the universities in other provinces, because, students in different provinces start to copy this, right? They outright called this a political event. And I'll just read you some stuff here, right? So they essentially issued these threatening notices to anybody that participates in this type of event. You could face academic disciplinary actions or potentially even getting expelled. And people online have already blamed the foreign forces, saying that this is a color revolution. They've sent in their own personnels to kind of stir up the trouble here. And counselors at schools have done these ideological educations to try to keep students from going. A university staff member revealed that the school has begun counting the number of participants, and in order, of course, to put them later in these education or re-education classes to brainwash them. But now, just talking about the sheer size of this again, I think it's funny because after the white paper protest of 2022, we thought that we already seen a massive number of turnout. And this one is even bigger than that. And is again mobilized and kind of organized, not really loosely organized, by young people, right? College-aged students. But then you got to remember, back in 2022, they had the clear intention of wanting change, right? They were tired of the political situation in China, the draconian lockdowns, the way of life that they had suffered through. Many, actually, this is real, many people across the world, especially young people, fell into depression. So I can almost see this as the aftershock. What many people did to kind of decompress in China, at one point they had things like walking a paper dog or a cardboard box dog or pet. There were people that were kind of circle in like these weird circles doing dances. There were people, obviously this seems to be the way for them to decompress is riding a bike for 3 hours. And so it almost feels like the shockwave of zero COVID on young people hasn't really left their heart yet. Now, I keep stressing this, that this was not at all political. Some of the people were even carrying the Chinese Communist Party flag. They were yelling like patriotic slogans like "Long live China," "Long live, the People's Republic of China," these kind of things. But again, some of the local government officials could interpret it as a sarcastic way of them trying to, in reality, they don't actually are showing the patriotic messages or whatnot, right? And of course, there were at least one or two people who had a clear message, like this one here that says, this flag reads, "Freedom, I ride on horseback for thee." Or this one here says, "One day I ride, one day I shine bright." So yeah, there's definitely some level of wanting to change too. But what is worth mentioning is the latest wave, this 200,000 plus, included actually a lot of regular people. So non-college students, they had retired soldiers, they have just regular folks joining the sort of trend. In one of the recent riots, because there's a huge number of students who took bikes to Kaifeng City, well, people in that city woke up the next morning to a bike jam. These students, I don't know how they got home, but they left all the bikes on the streets of Kaifeng, and it caused a lot of difficulties, of course, for the residents. So many people online took this opportunity to basically denounce this entire movement as one of that caused a lot of social problems, a lot of real troubles for other people, which is kind of true, but they try to, capitalize on condemning this action to further alienate those people, to not get them to gather again. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there were some other groups who were imitating this now. So, for example, kids tried to do a ride to the Tiananmen Square. Some people were doing rides to different other parts, 3 hours away, a city in those provinces. So people started to hop on this trend across the nation, but it did originate from Henan province. But I just remember, it took me a moment actually this morning to think about. 2 years ago, students were pleading for, to end the lockdowns, right? And then about a year ago, there was the Shanghai Halloween event, which of course this year also happened as well, where, they were trying to protest the right to wear costumes and different makeups. And now it's gotten even more ridiculous. Students have to plead for a chance to ride a bike, and like I mentioned once, I gotta mention this one more time, this was never a political event to begin with. Just because of how scared they were of the ability for young students to quickly organize this stuff, because they got different chat groups, the ability for them to mobilize all at once, and the energy that they have. So I think these are just the scary aspects for the CCP. But I think the theme that we kind of have to see, which is forming a pattern in my opinion, is that this desire for freedom, especially among young people. Contrary to what many may think, the brainwashing seems like when they reach that age, it has not been as effective. So I hope, I cover a lot about the young people who are getting brainwashed, by these weird things like the anti-Japanese hate. It seems like the college-age students are less prone to those, or maybe at least aspects of that. But just think about the grim reality. People can't even pursue happiness, can't even try to decompress themselves in different ways, right? And I think that's really, when people started to chase freedom, that's already deviating from the path of the CCP, because they just think, why would you need to go out and do things at night, try to have a different life, when all you can do is just stay on course with the academic work that we put out for you so that you're maximizing the value to the regime, right? In their eyes, you obviously can't have fun. And because the thing is, like, if you think of the kids as birds in cages, once you let loose of them once and they see how beautiful, the outside nature or the world is for a bird, they don't want to return to the cage anymore. And precisely because the Chinese regime has tried to cage them, and I think this is a group of people in China that really doesn't want to be caged. So them in the path of finding happiness, path of finding ways out of their depressive, emotions has become a way of protest. Inherently, it's not a protest, but again, at the end of the day, anything in China that turns a little bit, political is not really because it's just political, but because the definition, or you could say the standards, has been twisted so much, right? Yeah, so apparently fun chasing has become political in China. And definitely bikes have become political in China. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment about this episode if you enjoyed it. Also like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, until next time, see you. Bye-bye.